All right, hello again. This is Ben Hitchcock Cross talking to you today. I've got a two-part recording of a teacher termination hearing from Marathon City, Wisconsin. This is up by or down by, depending on how you look at it, Wausau, Wisconsin. So yeah, we're like up here. That's about where we're at. Does your state fit within your hand? You tell me. So, we've got here, this is a Loudermill hearing, for lack of a better word, and the entire statute encompassing this hearing is like this. No teacher can be terminated without a majority vote of the full board. That's the law. That's it. There's nothing else. There's nothing more and nothing less. That is it. So, a teacher's contract is a contract unless it's terminated by right of the board. It's kind of weird that the contract, if the employer resigned, if the employee resigns, they have to pay the district money, but if the district terminates, then they owe you nothing else. I'm gonna have to think about that. I'm gonna have to think about that for a little bit. But there's two things that are going on here, and we'll get into the second one later, which is the open meetings violation. We'll talk about that in some detail, but in part two. Right now, we're just going to talk about what are the allegations and what's at stake here. Okay. Now, this is a pupil matter. There's no doubt about it. So we're going to have to there's a lot of limitations on who we can talk to, why we can talk to them, and about what kind of discussion they're going to have. And here I think we limited consciously some of the witnesses that we may have heard from because the testimony of the teacher was so strong. And I think there was a sort of a decision after that not to call anybody else because either they were going to vote in your favor or not. Now, let's talk about again the accusation. And they're serious here because um, what is going on is something that affects all teachers across the country. And this kind of situation here, where a pupil's mom, uh, accuses a teacher of corporal punishment without really any kind of evidence, then there's a problem. Um, and we'll get into what I mean by evidence. So, basically, this is a new teacher where the new beginning of the year. When I say new teacher, she's not fresh off the boat. In fact, she's been a Navy veteran for many years. She has a master's degree, which is significantly higher than many teachers in Wisconsin, and she had taught elsewhere. So she's just new to this district. It's a new year. She, they had done their curriculum right now is focused on uh, the military. I don't know why that is, but that's what they're doing. The superintendent didn't seem to know why that was either, which was so neither did the principal, which was a little shocking, but that's how these things go. Um, I have some things I could say about the principal that I'll leave off. Let's moving it along. There is a child in this room. I think we call him student A, who, from what I can tell, is kind of immature and fairly naughty. And the things that he's described to be doing are really not anything that anybody in like an eighth grade would be doing that I have any experience with whatsoever. And I well understand that both the standards for discipline and the behaviors of the children and what the parents expect have completely changed. And that I think plays into this in a large part. But nevertheless, the behaviors that we're talking about here are just kind of shocking for me. So what's going on here is this pupil is bored or not stimulated enough, or I don't know, fidgety, whatever they may call it. He puts a pencil, he connects it with a bunch of staplers to the thick erasers and calls it a fishing pole, but is alleged to be whapping kids with it. Now, most schools that I know, that would be automatic. That's a weapon, automatic in school suspension. Is that insane? Totally insane. Totally insane. But that's how they would handle it. Zero tolerance, weapon, the end. Okay? So that's not what happens here. The kid is told to come. He's redirected with this activity, which is apparently doing some wall sits, which is part of these physical activities that the teacher and her husband had demonstrated as part of like Navy Day at the school, something along those lines. Um, she asks him if he would like to demonstrate, this is her words, the wall sit, and he does that. There is another child about 10 minutes late. He does that when we say he does a wall sit. He half-heartedly does a wall sit. Some of the other kids tell him to go to do it better. Not clear what he does it or for how long or whatever, but he's mostly sitting on a radiator reading a Where's Waldo book. Again, eighth grader reading a Where's Waldo book. That's a little bit strange to me, but okay. This channel is not about judging people, it's about pointing out issues. So, why the kids, everything's fine, all the kids describe it as a fun situation. She describes it as a redirection, a request, and not certainly not being made to do any kind of activity. Now, the pupil goes home to mom, tells mom what's happened, and mom immediately calls the police. Now, this is one of those districts where the police, they're both city, and there's one police department, there's one school district, and they're basically see themselves as co-equal branches of the municipal government. And so the police do what the district wants and vice versa. Like at this meeting when they wanted to quell dissent, they had a police officer, an armed police officer, intimidating people. They had the police department has issued referred charges of a violation of a Wisconsin school code, which I assume can only to the DA, which I assume only can come from the corporal Wisconsin corporal punishment law is in the school code. There's no crime, there's battery or assault or something like that, but there's no crime of corporal punishment in Wisconsin, as far as I know. Now, totally maybe wrong. Don't know. But the law that they cited as criminal is the school statute, and I don't get what they're doing. But again, that's evidence, in my opinion, that the school district and the police department are just co-equal branches of the same government. They work with each other. We get that allegation in Milwaukee all the time. There's that allegation with Holiday and the Milwaukee Police Department. There's recordings of them saying that they're doing favors for Holiday. Um, there's they put it in their notes, for goodness sake. So this is not something. This is not a new accusation in Wisconsin that the police department is working with the school district, not on behalf of the law, justice, or the individual citizens. That's what it is. So, if I wanted to have, I've said that I was afraid that people were gonna, at a public meeting, were gonna speak out, and that I wanted the police to come there and intimidate people. That would they come? They wouldn't. So, and did they come at the request of the superintendent or the school board, or I don't know. But well, that's not really what the issue is here. The issue is that then the superintendent took the students contradicted themselves. They made their parents came to them and said they changed their stories. They did change their stories. They were interviewed multiple times. A stapler turned into this weapon, turned into I mean, there's that. Whereas the teacher says this is what happened. And the bottom line here is that this is what they did. You have 7 students. Nobody can cross-examine them except the superintendent, who's the one who presses the charges. And the superintendent decides that there's commonalities. Like, let's say there's 7 kids. 3 of them said this the same. And for this other thing, maybe 4 of them said that she made him come up. So therefore that happened because there's 4 of them, and there's only 1 of her. And ultimately she's cooked because any teacher is cooked because of the allegations. There really is no way for them to respond because the mathematical calculus of the district is let's just there's many holes in the administration story, but let's just keep this in mind. The only testimony at this hearing is that the superintendent has no clue how long one can do a wall sit, and the Navy veteran says that in her prime she could do it for 2 minutes. The allegation is that she made a child do a wall sit for 10 or to 30 minutes. Oh, it's also that she admitted to doing that, which is, of course, nowhere in the document. Didn't happen. So that really is the danger, and that's, I think, why so many parents were out there, so many teachers were out there, because if this could happen to one person, it could happen to anybody. It's all it takes really is for one parent to make the accusation, um, and then the teacher can be removed based on something that everybody in the room knows is physically impossible. It's all based on a lie. So this was the chance. Let's also be clear that the school district did everything in its power to keep this from being a public hearing. They noticed it as private hearing. They kept saying if she wants it. They kept telling the public that it was going to be closed, even though it was open. They put it in the smaller library. They had the police officers standing there intimidating people. And it was very clear, at least to me, that the superintendent and the board were communicating back and forth, and that the attorney who was working with the board had been working with the superintendent, and that this was a total foregone conclusion decision. So we'll talk about that in part 2. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll keep you informed. Wisconsin needs to do better.
That doesn't refresh your recollection at all?
I did not receive that information. That
Okay.
was the report that the students had given us.
Okay, so the information that you just read is different than the information that you were given by the students. Fair?
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think we're getting close to the end. I appreciate everybody sticking by me. You indicated that one of the students, I believe this was student 4, stated that the pupil, I guess we're calling him pupil A, was taking breaks during the alleged wall sits, right?
Could you please ask your question again?
Sure. Again, student 4 says that the student, pupil A, is taking breaks during the alleged wall sits, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is that consistent with the other students?
It was consistent with other students. It was consistent with Mrs. McCarthy.
Okay. And how about with Where's Waldo? Did that come up at all?
Among some students, it came up.
How about Miss McCarthy?
Let me look at the written statement.
So I can direct you to almost halfway in the page there. Okay. So that's consistency between the teacher and the pupils, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the...
Not all interviewees indicated the Where's Waldo. I want to correct that.
Okay. And so, again, you went with the students who didn't say Where's Waldo because you didn't put that anywhere on the charges, right?
I put in the charges what was consistent.
Got it. So what's the whole point of the Where's Waldo and the fidget bin, if you understand?
I did not put anything in the findings regarding Where's Waldo.
Okay, but Miss McCarthy told you, right? She said, I figured this was less distracting and safer than a pencil with staples and not distracting my teaching time, right?
She did indicate that in her statement.
Okay, and that's because the pupil, because although you alleged to this board that the pupil was doing wall sits for 30 minutes, in fact, the pupil was also reading Where's Waldo. This is an 8th grade pupil, is reading Where's Waldo during this alleged painful exercise, right?
In the facts, let's see. There were reports that student A took breaks by sitting on the wall vent or leaning forward.
Okay.
The report said he took breaks.
And that's commensurate with your allegation that he was undergoing corporal punishment for 30 minutes, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And that's based on your understanding of corporal punishment. Where's Waldo factors into it?
No.
No. Okay. Now, some of the students reported that the classroom was fun. Did I miss that? Did I understand that right?
Some of the students reported they were giggling and the class was laughing.
Okay. But you didn't tell us that some of them have reported that they were having fun. Is that fair?
I did not indicate that this evening.
Okay. And it's your understanding that somehow if there was laughing, then it was laughing at the student, and that the student A was being made fun of. Is that fair?
Some of the respondents indicated laughing. Some of them indicated the laughing along with the critiquing at the same time.
Okay. And you don't deny that 7th and 8th grade students were doing a unit on the military, right?
I do not deny that. That's the expeditionary learning unit right now.
Okay, but you didn't learn that after talking to Miss McCarthy, right? You knew that the whole time, right? Well, didn't we hear
We learned about it during the course of the interviews with students, but Mrs. McCarthy offered more clarity.
Okay, so you're telling this board that the superintendent and the principal weren't aware of what was being taught in their classes, fair?
No.
Oh, okay. Are you aware of whether or not Miss McCarthy did any demonstrations of any physical activities at any time prior to this date?
I'm not aware of her doing a physical demonstration. That did not come up in the interviews.
Okay. Well, are you aware of her husband being at the school for any time?
I was told that they had collaboratively provided a unit on September 4th
Okay.
during a kickoff of that expeditionary learning unit.
Okay. So, but you presented to this board Miss McCarthy's statement that says we are currently in 7th and 8th grade covering a unit on the military, and as a prior military member, this class in particular has had many questions about the military. You knew that, right?
Mrs. McCarthy told us that.
Well, but you knew about it as the superintendent of the school district, right?
No.
Oh, okay. And then it says, and what it was like and what boot camp was like, and had many questions. So I have had some of the boys come up and demonstrate different skills, or do I have had him move to the front of the class? Sorry, we'll just stop there. So I'm going to repeat myself just so we're clear. Then we are currently in the 7th and 8th grade covering a unit on the military. As prior military member, this class in particular has had many questions about the military and what it was like and what boot camp was like. So I have had some of the boys come up and demonstrate different skills. And Ms. McCarthy told you that, right?
Yes.
Okay, and did
In
you
her
think?
statement.
Okay, and did you think that was corporal punishment?
No.
Okay, and why not?
The context in which she provided in this written summary on that and having some of the boys, not specific to the Volsit or the Sundials, but some of the boys come up and demonstrate is different. It wasn't in response to a behavior infraction.
Well, and she denied that it was, in fact, in response to a behavior infraction. True?
In her written statement and in the interview, she indicated to us the misbehavior and then her response.
And she says specifically that it wasn't due to punish any kid, right? Any pupil.
Mrs. McCarthy reported asking the student A to stop multiple times. She saw him lunge across at another student, and that is an immediate no for her. She then said that she told him to come up to the front and do a wall sit.
Okay, so according...
She said student B was interrupting the distracting, flirting, and causing a disruption with a group of boys. He was shoving and kicking. She said he was trying to get a girl's attention. She said Mrs. McCarthy reported redirecting him multiple times. She said, I thought outside the box and used another military boot camp workout, sundials.
Okay. To punish him.
She did not use the words to punish him, no.
Okay. Well, but and she expressly denied to you that she did this activity to punish any child at all, right?
I don't recall that.
So it's fair to say that although none of the students' statements as written down by you were matching, you found what you say are consistencies, and that's why you allege that they're consistent, right?
We derived what the consistent reports were across interviews, yes.
Okay, I got it. Do you have any reason to think that Miss McCarthy is lying?
I do not know.
Okay. And you could have waited for the police report, but you chose not to. Fair?
We have school board policies that I'm charged to carry out. So there were two separate investigations that were mutually exclusive.
Okay. The last question I have for you is this student A, his mother was allowed to be in the room when you interviewed him, right?
Yes.
What other students did you allow their parents to be in the room when you interviewed them?
We called at the start of each interview and asked parents if we may interview them.
Every single parent?
We, on September 9th, every single parent while the police were present, yes.
Oh, okay. How about any other times? Did you miss any other parents?
On September 10th, when police were not present, we did not call.
Okay. Sorry. Attorney should never say last question. When you read Miss McCarthy her Garrity rights, what did you tell her?
You are hereby ordered to fully cooperate with the investigating officials. Your failure to cooperate will recreate an objective and subjective fear of termination. You have the following rights and responsibilities during this investigation. You have the right to be informed of the allegations involved. You will be asked questions specifically directed and narrowly related to the performance of your official duties. Statements made during any interviews may be used as evidence of misconduct or as the basis for seeking disciplinary action against you. Any statements made by you during these interviews cannot be used against you in any subsequent criminal proceedings, nor can the fruits of any of your statements be used against you in any subsequent criminal proceeding. If you so request, a person of your choice may be present to serve as a witness during the interviews. If you refuse to answer questions relating to the performance of your official duties, you will be subject to dismissal.
Okay. And you were talking with law enforcement at that time, right?
No.
This is before you were talking to law enforcement.
This was after we had spoken to law enforcement that we interviewed Mrs. McCarthy.
So you didn't speak to law enforcement any time between you gave her that statement?
And receiving the report today, no.
Okay, and she didn't have any choice but to tell you the truth, right?
I read her Garrity rights. If you refuse to answer questions relating to the performance of your official duties, you will be subject to dismissal.
Okay. And you're not accusing her of saying anything that's untruthful here, right?
She's not said anything tonight.
Well, in her interview, you're not accused her to the board of saying anything untruthful,
I
have you?
responded, I didn't know.
Okay. No more questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions for members of administration?
Do these students have a past history of discipline troubles in preceding grades?
The student who was made to do wall sits has no behaviors whatsoever. The student who was made to do sundials, minor things.
Any other questions by board members?
I just need a clarification on the second day of interviews. Were these the same students that were interviewed on Monday? And why didn't we call the parents to let them know?
Two of the students were re-interviewed, so their parents had been contacted the day before. One student was a new interview. He was not being disciplined. We were just simply trying to understand the content further after interviewing Mrs. McCarthy. So we did not contact parents.
With no law enforcement present and with those students having done nothing wrong, we saw no reason.
Any other?
We're-
Oh, go ahead.
sorry.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Were all parents offered to be present during the interviews?
We asked if we could interview. I don't believe we offered them to be present.
Does Marathon Police Department have a policy on how soon they need to report a crime to the district attorney's office? When the investigation is completed, is there a time frame when it has to be submitted?
You're asking me?
Yes,
Does the Marathon Police Department have such policy? The city of Marathon, I am unaware of that, and I'm not capable of answering that question. I apologize.
okay. If it's referred to the district attorney's office, how much time does it generally take, or is there a set time before you come up with determination for charges?
So, I just want to, for Attorney Hitchcock-Cross's knowledge and the other participants' knowledge, I believe you're asking me this question because I was a former prosecutor for Marathon County District Attorney's Office.
Correct.
I am, at the time of being a prosecutor, that time frame varied depending on the type of referral it was, whether a person was in custody or not, things like that. I am unsure as to whether such a policy has changed or time frame has changed since my time has left. And I guess I appreciate your question. I'm not a witness in this proceeding though.
Yes, and I apologize for that. I'm aware that these things sometimes take time. That's
Sure.
why I asked the question, and I apologize for asking you that.
That's okay.
But I knew that you had knowledge of it.
Sure.
But things changed, so.
I do have a follow-up, but
So follow-up question for
yes.
administration?
Yes.
I'll give you that opportunity.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, Attorney Hitchcock-Cross, I'll let you.
Appreciate that. Was there any allegations, Superintendent, that student A was trying to hit anybody with the pencil contraption?
Mrs. McCarthy reported that.
Okay. And you'll agree with me that if student A was using a pencil contraption to hit other students or even to strike at other students without actually hitting them, that that would be considered a weapon, right?
I would have to look at the weapons policy here in the school district to answer that.
As superintendent sitting here today, you're not able to answer that question?
Our policy would definitely consider knives and guns. I don't know if it considers a piece of papers attached to it a weapon.
Well, used to hit somebody, right?
Again, I would have to refer to that policy, and I don't have it in front of me, sir.
Okay. Well, because you'll agree with me that anything can be used as a weapon. It's the It's the behavior of the student, right?
I believe what you're getting at is, Mrs. McCarthy indicated in her statement to us that she was concerned about safety.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And the student A, even though it changes, he says that somebody took something from him and he took it back, right?
He did, that was the second part of it. It was reported that by Mrs. McCarthy that he lunged at another student.
Okay. And the pupil, student A, he said that he lunged at a student, right? He came clean about that. Is that right?
No.
No, he said something totally different, right?
All other student respondents indicated that he took a stapler back. I didn't get a response of there was a lunge that occurred.
I got it. Okay. And what, in your opinion, what would be the normal response of a teacher for that behavior?
I was not in that room, but I would say definitely to understand what had occurred.
Okay.
Stop it, and then decide upon the response.
Got it. Okay. How is that different than what Miss McCarthy did?
According to the findings, Mrs. McCarthy called the student up to the front of the classroom and told him to do a wall sit.
Okay, and you'll agree that the findings are just your opinion, right?
The findings are based on a series of interviews with 7 different students, some of which 2 students were re-interviewed.
That you conducted and you asked all the questions at, right?
Yes.
Okay, which helped you formulate the opinion that you made before the investigation, right?
Sir, I was interested in finding the facts.
Did your opinion ever change?
Never change. I don't recall forming an opinion. I was interested in finding the facts. And at the end, I went through everything to find out what was common amongst all interviews.
Thank you.
No other questions from the board, I assume? Okay. Attorney Hitchcock-Cross, I'll let you.
I'd like to take 5 if we can.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just trying to protect kind of the sanctity of the record here.
Well, fair enough. What I'd really like to do is to talk to my client for a few minutes. Hopefully
I'll
we
let
can
you-
streamline this.
I'll let you two talk.
I think it'll be worth it. Okay, thank you.
6:35. We took what I'll estimate to be a 7-minute recess. Before we begin again, I want to confirm with the board members, as some board members did leave the room for what I assume to be a restroom break, which is understandable, that none of you spoke to one another in the hall.
Bathroom was empty.
Okay, all right, thank you. Now, there are materials in front of you, board members and parties, that do have some identifiable information of students in there. Those shall not be read in any way. The parties understand that. If they were to be requested pursuant to an open records request or something, those would be redacted, okay? And there's going to be additional information provided by Attorney Hitchcock-Cross during his presentation that will contain similar information. The same goes for that. The board can receive that information so long as no narrative is given about what it is. My understanding is parties understand that and agree. So I believe we can proceed unless there's anything else I'm missing.
No, I think we're clear on, and just so I just so we understand each other. We've got this report. We're not reading from the report
Right.
verbatim, and we're certainly not identifying any of the pupils who may or may not be identified in the report.
Right, and you've submitted that to me via electronic means for and I'll give that to the board
Thank
while
you.
they're in deliberations.
Perfect. Okay, I'm ready if we all are. Okay. And so, Ms. McCarthy, can you, I guess, briefly explain to us what happened in the classroom on this day?
Sure. We have our overarching big questions, which are: why is war necessary? Why do people revolt? And what does it mean to serve one's country? That day specifically, our learning targets for the day where I can use close reading strategies to understand a complex text. I can follow classroom norms, which we had written down classroom norms and come up with as a class. And I can identify and differentiate the ranks and branches of the military. Our slides continued on for the day to talk about what is a veteran. I, again, as noted, I am a U.S. Navy veteran, so I have firsthand experience. So we're currently working through that as a veteran. I integrated personal experience and military-style demonstrations to help students to better understand discipline and teamwork.
And if you just let me excuse me, you didn't
Yes.
pick that curriculum, right?
I did not pick this curriculum. This curriculum was given to me by the district.
And it wasn't assigned to you, as far as you know, because you're a veteran.
No. I just so happened to be a veteran that was hired through the district.
And there was some talk before about you and your husband demonstrating.
Yes.
Can you explain to us that part?
Yes, so for our field work day, which was on September 4th, my husband and I did a day where we, I guess, demonstrated and did a whole slides on the Navy. So we went through and talked about our whole service and what the Navy is like and what the Navy is about. We went through and shared pictures. I brought in my uniforms. I brought in my certificates. I brought in just anything I had from my time in my service in the Navy.
Okay. And during that time, when your husband was at the school, did anybody demonstrate physical exercises?
Yes, I had, my husband had some of the students demonstrate different things. We have like a rite of passage when we cross the equator. It's like you're a pollywog when you, before you cross the equator, and then you become a shellback. And so during that time, I had my husband, not me, my husband had some of the students come up and demonstrate various things that happened when we were on the ship.
Okay. Including exercises?
Including exercises, yes.
Okay. And then, those demonstrations, those were done those were made in front of the pupils that we're talking about today, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It was all encompassing with the 7th and 8th graders, and they were voluntary.
Okay. And did that play any part in what you were doing on this day? I'm not sure even what the date is.
On September 9th,
Thank you.
some of it, yes.
Okay. And can you explain that?
Some of it was like the push-ups that happened, and like I guess the air squats that happened.
Okay. And why was that connected?
Because in boot camp we would have to do those kinds of exercises in boot camp, and they were just exercises that we would do when we were in boot camp.
How did that fit in with your unit?
For the military, it fit into and tied into our talking about the different branches, talking about boot camp, talking about me as a veteran, talking about the various, my time in the service, talking about me as a veteran, talking about the different branches, and we also went in to talk about various things that happened in close reading texts we were doing that day. And then they also had gone through on the fieldwork day, they had gone through and done like a boot camp on with the Army.
Okay. And did you have to redirect anybody at any time on the 9th?
On the 9th to redirect, yes, I did.
Okay. And if we can just focus on student A, can you explain to us what happened there?
Yes, during the lesson, a safety concern arose where one student A had created a device consisting of a pencil attached to a large pink eraser with approximately 20 staples. He was swinging this object and interacting physically with another student, leading to a minor struggle over the item. I confiscated that item and immediately asked the student to move to the front of the class, away from his peers to de-escalate the situation and prevent distraction or harm.
Now, when you were talking to that student at that time, was that a conversation between you and the student and the rest of the class, or who was that?
So I had
between?
that conversation just with him, but it was in front of the rest of the class.
Okay. And what was the nature of that conversation?
I said in boot camp when we were goofing around, we would have to do certain physical activities, and I asked him to demonstrate a wall sit.
Okay. And this was voluntary as far as you understood it?
Yes, it was voluntary.
Why was it voluntary?
Because I asked him to do it.
Okay.
And then he moved over and he went to go sit over to demonstrate a wall sit. When he went to go demonstrate the wall sit, he made the comment, "Oh, there's a wall heater for me to sit on," and I kind of shrugged my shoulders and kind of just didn't say anything to him.
Okay. And why not?
Because it was less distracting than him and less of a safety concern than him swinging a device around and smacking other students with it.
Okay. And have you ever done a wall sit before?
Yes, I have in the military.
Okay. How long can you do a wall sit, if you know?
I mean, when I was in my prime, like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Now, probably not 2 minutes.
Okay. And so how about 10 minutes?
No, definitely not.
Have you ever seen anybody do a 10-minute wall sit?
No, I have not.
How about a 30-minute wall sit?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And do you think that that's possible?
No,
And how about for an 8th grader?
absolutely not.
Okay. And did you use that word demonstrate with the pupil?
Yes, I use demonstrate.
And is that the same language you used previously when your husband was there?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And how far were you from the pupil A during the rest of the classroom?
So I was sitting on top of a desk right in front of my smartboard, and the student was probably, 2 feet away from me, sitting on the wall heater for most of the time.
Okay, and reading a book?
Yes, he had grabbed from my fidget bin, which was directly to his left, a Where's Waldo book.
Okay, and this is this may sound like a silly question to many of the educators in the room, but an 8th grader, is that a fidget thing? Is that a normal thing for an 8th grader to be using?
Well, in this day and age, yes.
Okay, and how about was student A's behavior, was it disruptive?
At that point, no, it was not.
Okay. And is it fair to say that there was at least that student A's behavior was not ideal at that point?
At that, like when he was sitting on the wall heater reading Where's Waldo?
That's what I'm sorry. That's the confusion. Did you see the student A hit anybody with that device?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And more than one person?
I saw him in his little pod with 2 other people, yes.
Okay. And I think we've heard testimony that student A's behavior was generally known to be acceptable. Was that your understanding just based on the 9th?
accepting amongst his peers.
No, I mean apparently he doesn't have a negative record. Is that, I mean, was he causing problems at any? Was he a disruptive pupil based on your limited understanding of him?
From other teachers.
No, just on your experience. Thanks for clarifying that.
In my experience in my classroom, he was being disruptive.
Okay. Now, there's some, you didn't go to, I'm going to use the word administration. You didn't go to administration after this, right?
I did not know.
Why not?
So right afterwards, we had a CPT meeting.
Okay.
So I did not get to go and report this or write up a EduClimber. And then right after school, I had prior engagements for my children. I had to take them to cheer practice and to football practice. And then the next morning, I came in early to write up said report, and I was immediately called down to the office and was placed on paid administrative leave.
Okay. Can we move on to student B and the sundials?
Sure.
What are sundials?
They are when you place your arms out beside you and you do circles with them like this.
Okay, and how long do you think that child was doing sundials?
Maybe 5 minutes, not even.
Okay, why was that child doing sundials, as you
Because he
understood?
was shaking his arms down. Why was he doing them?
Yeah.
As a movement break to kind of refocus his attention and get him to refocus back on the lesson and get him moving around.
Okay. And we heard administration say that you didn't give any warnings to any of these children. Is that true?
That is untrue.
Okay, and what does that mean to you?
Well, I had my students, here I will, in my notes. It was the end of the day, and I had several students who, for word gen, had expressed that they didn't like doing word gen. And I had utilized several strategies as possible for the last hour, and such as the 5 in the air. So a lot of my middle school teachers will know, and a lot of the students will know, when you put the 5 in the air, a lot of the students will put a 5 in the air. So I utilized that strategy. And then I also had counted down from 5. I used my finger on my mouth. So when you kind of put this, it's like a known 1 to quiet the class down. And then I did call out names who were distracting and ask that they get back on track. For student B, I did go up and I whispered to him to kind of quietly get him to calm down, which was noted. And then I also had just reference to my students, like Mrs. McCarthy's number 1 rule, which is no talking when Mrs. McCarthy's talking.
Okay. And we've had some testimony that student B was doing something that caused you to punish student B. Is that, what is it, if you were aware of what student B had done?
It's not that I was punishing student B. I was asking him to move because he was being distracting. And he was kind of goofing off with his friends at the front of the room. He was horsing around with some of the boys, and I had asked him multiple times again, and then I went up to him and I had whispered to him. And then that's when I redirected him and asked him to move to the back of the room.
Where did you learn these techniques, if anywhere?
When I was in school.
Okay, and what schooling do you have?
I have a bachelor's in healthcare administration, and then I have a master's in elementary education.
Okay. And have you taught anywhere besides Marathon City?
I have taught in Wausau.
Okay. So this wasn't, in fact, your first 6 days teaching as a full teacher?
No, it is not.
Okay. And do you have any concerns about working as a teacher where there's allegations like this that have been leveled against you?
Can you rephrase?
Yeah, I'm
please?
sorry, that's an inartful question. Let me ask it like this. Do you feel supported by your administration in this investigation?
This current administration? No, I do not.
And why not?
I feel like this administration heard the allegation from a student and immediately listened to the words of a student and took their word over mine.
Okay. And it's,
An adult, and immediately ran with that.
okay. And you told them, did you ever tell them that it was impossible to do a wall sit for 10 minutes?
No, I did not.
Okay. But there's some note, anyways, from the administration that high-level athletes would find it difficult to do a wall sit for that amount of time, right?
There is that in the factual findings, yes.
Okay. Well, did you ever learn anything from any other sources other than what the board has presented, that any of the pupils changed their story at any time?
Yes, I have heard that various students have changed their stories based on the police report. And then I have heard rumors from various other students in I guess, from various other findings, so.
Okay. Well, have you ever heard that student A has been bragging that he's able to get teachers fired?
I did hear that, yes.
What else do you think would be helpful for this board to know?
I think that teachers have reached out and are also concerned about their jobs.
Do you know why?
Because they don't feel supported, and they're nervous because they don't feel like their administration has their back, and things like this are not being taken into account in the due diligence of finding waiting for the investigation to come through before making a decision.
And you moved to this school district for a reason, right?
I did.
What was that reason?
I strongly fell in love with this community, and I strongly fell in love with your students. I built a reputation here when I started subbing here. So much so that some of your students, unbeknownst to me, went to your former superintendent and tried to advocate for my students to become, my own children, to become, try to get them enrolled here last year. And so I wanted to become a teacher here, and I wanted to become part of your community. I've had many parents and many of your students reach out to me personally and privately to share their distrust and their feelings of this administration and the situation and how it's being handled.
Have these allegations had any impact on you personally?
Yes, I've lost 10 pounds. My husband is not here, so I'm doing this by myself with 3 children. I haven't been able to sleep. I'm paying for a lawyer out of my own pocket, which is not cheap. Thankfully, I've had the support of your community. But
And you asked to have this an open session, right?
I did,
Is there a reason that you did that?
because I feel like I wanted the community to see what is happening to one of its teachers, and I want the community to see, and I want to set an example for my students to not just back down, and I want to share the kind of person that I am, and that I'm not who Miss Woyak is accusing me of being.
You don't hurt kids, do you?
No, I do not.
You're a teacher, aren't you?
I am. And I'm a damn good one.
I think we're done. Okay. Thank you all.
Is there any other witnesses you'd like to present, Attorney Hitchcock?
No, thank you.
All right. Administration, do you have any questions for
No.
Ms. McCarthy?
No, and as I had stated before, this is not about who she is as a person. In fact, there are letters here that folks have written, a copy of which is for you as the board. Would you like a copy?
Sure.
But you're free to read it as well.
That explains that.
Anything else in terms of cross-examination? Board members, do you have any questions for Attorney Hitchcock Cross's client?
Have you ever had trouble with these two students prior to that day? I find it really hard to think that just one day out of the whole month of school so far that, or whatever we had, I mean, have they been disruptive in your class?
I mean, these two particular students, this student A, I noted had made devices in my class. Previously, he had made stacked pencils on top, and he also took a whole sticky pad of notes and was making paper hats and showed me that he stuffed them into his locker and I was making notes of these because that's not something that I would necessarily document. They're just something I would tell him, you need to put these away.
How did you handle that? How did you handle that situation?
And that's-
This is the first time you ever did what we're talking about here tonight with your students?
Yes, this is the first time I did a movement break for my students. In those situations, and normally how I handle things in my classroom is I would have them do a fix-it plan with me, and they would come in during lunchtime, and we would do a restorative action. That's something that I normally do. In this particular case, I tied in my lesson plan, and I had them do a movement break to refocus. Keep in mind I have 28, 29 students in this class. There's a lot. I don't have extra seats in my class, so it's a chance for me to redirect them in other areas of my room.
Thank you.
Any other questions by board members?
Answer my question. I was looking for clarification of the disruption. Thank you.
Then that concludes the evidentiary portion of this hearing, and I direct it to you, Jody, to move on to agenda item number 7.
At this time, we will move into deliberations, which is a closed session. Consideration of a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1918-1A for purposes of deliberating concerning a case which was the subject of any judicial or quasi-judicial trial or hearing before that governmental body to it. It'll be deliberation and possible action on recommendation for termination of an employee's contract. And we look for a motion to go into closed session at 7:02 PM.
So move.
I'll second.
First by Ted, second by Paula, excuse me. And we'll do roll. Jody's yes. Ted?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Paula? Motion carried for roll. Thank you, everyone, this evening. I ask that you exit.
Can I leave my stuff here? Papers, just papers. I'll get
You can
them.
leave the papers.
Yeah, I'll, yeah,
Take out.
fair enough. I was planning a 30-minute closing speech. Thank you.
Okay.
Waiting for.
Is now, well, I guess the board adjourned from executive session at 8:17. We are back in open session. The board deliberated on this matter. A motion was made. That motion was in consideration of the evidence and testimony received. I move to approve the recommendation by administration and to terminate the employment contract of Jessica McCarthy pursuant to stated board policies. That motion carried by a majority vote of the full membership of the board. This matter is now concluded. And we would entertain a motion for adjournment.
For a motion to adjourn at 8:25 PM. Just by Paula, second. Second by Leah, all in favor? Opposed?
Will you vote in open session?
No.